Àyo and Ifé had been married for only a year, but lately, they argued almost every day. Àyo believed her husband should make all the big decisions, while Ifé wanted them to discuss things together. One evening, their argument grew worse. Ifé wanted to use part of their savings to start a small business selling palm oil. Àyo disagreed. "Business is risky," he said. "We should save for emergencies instead." "But how will we grow if we don't take chances?" Ifé asked, frustration in her voice. They kept arguing until Àyo stormed out of the house. He walked around the village to clear his head. That's when he saw Elder OJo sitting outside his hut. The old man was known for his wisdom. People often came to him for advice. Àyo sighed and walked up to him. "Elder OJo, my wife and I argue too much. I don't know what to do." The elder smiled. "Sit down, my son. Tell me everything." As Àyo spoke, Elder OJo nodded patiently. When Àyo finished, the old man said, "Come back tomorrow with your wife. This lesson is for both of you." Àyo hesitated but finally agreed. He knew Ifé would be happy to talk to someone wise. Maybe this elder could help them understand each other. The next day, they would visit Elder OJo together. Would he have the answer to their troubles? The next morning, Àyo and Ifé walked to Elder OJo's hut. They were quiet, each lost in thought. When they arrived, the elder welcomed them with a warm smile. "My children," Elder OJo said, "I am glad you both came. Sit down." They sat on a wooden bench while Elder OJo handed them 2 clay cups filled with water. "Drink," he said. They both took a sip. Then the elder added a pinch of salt to Àyo's cup and a spoonful of honey to Ifé's. "Now, drink again," he said. Àyo frowned as he sipped his salty water, while Ifé smiled at the sweet taste of hers. Elder OJo chuckled. "Marriage is like these cups of water. Sometimes, it is bitter. Sometimes, it is sweet. But both are part of the journey." Àyo and Ifé exchanged glances. They understood what he meant. Marriage wasn't about always being right or getting what they wanted. It was about accepting both good and bad moments together. "Now," Elder OJo continued, "tell me, what is your biggest struggle?" Ifé spoke first. "We argue about decisions. I want us to plan together, but Àyo thinks he should decide alone." Àyo sighed. "I just want to protect us from making mistakes." The elder nodded. "Tomorrow, meet me at the riverbank. I will teach you something important about partnership." As Àyo and Ifé walked home, they felt lighter. For the first time in weeks, they weren't arguing. Maybe, just maybe, Elder OJo had the wisdom they needed. The next morning, Àyo and Ifé arrived at the riverbank, curious about what Elder OJo planned to teach them. The old man stood near the water, holding a long rope and a woven basket. "Good, you're here," Elder OJo said. "Now, watch closely." He placed the empty basket on the ground and tied one end of the rope around it. Then, he handed the other end of the rope to Àyo. "Pull the basket towards you," he instructed. Àyo pulled, but the basket barely moved. It kept getting stuck on small rocks and twigs. Elder OJo smiled and turned to Ifé. "Now, you pull with him." Ifé grabbed the rope beside Àyo, and together, they pulled. This time, the basket moved smoothly across the ground toward them. "Do you see the lesson?" Elder OJo asked. Àyo and Ifé looked at each other. Ifé spoke first. "It's easier to move forward when we work together." "Exactly," the elder said. "Àyo, when you try to carry the weight of marriage alone, it slows you down. Ifé, when you pull in a different direction, the journey becomes difficult. But when you both pull together, you move forward with ease." Àyo nodded slowly. "I never thought of it that way." Elder OJo smiled. Marriage is a partnership, my children. If you only trust your own strength, you will struggle. But if you trust each other, you will go far. As Àyo and Ifé walked home, they felt something shift between them. Maybe, for the first time, they were pulling in the same direction. A few days later, Elder OJo invited Àyo and Ifé to his hut again. This time, he was sitting beside a small fire with a pot of soup boiling over it. The delicious aroma filled the air. "Today, we will cook together," Elder OJo said, handing them a wooden spoon. "But first, tell me, what makes a good soup?" Ifé smiled. "The right ingredients." Àyo nodded. "And the right balance of flavors." "Good," Elder OJo said. He handed Àyo a handful of salt. "Now, add all of this to the soup." Àyo hesitated. "But that's too much salt. The soup will be ruined." Elder OJo chuckled. "Exactly. Now, Ifé, add only water to the soup." Ifé frowned. "But that will make it tasteless." The elder smiled. "You both understand balance in cooking, but do you understand it in marriage?" Àyo and Ifé looked at each other, thinking. Elder OJo continued, "If a marriage has too much of one thing, too many rules, too much control, it becomes unbearable, like salty soup. But if it lacks important things, respect, patience, love, it becomes empty, like tasteless soup." Àyo sighed. "So, we need balance." "Yes," Elder OJo said. "You must learn to mix patience with action, listening with speaking, and love with understanding. Only then will your marriage be as good as a well-cooked meal." Àyo and Ifé shared a small smile. They were beginning to understand. That evening, as they cooked their own meal at home, they remembered Elder OJo's words. Maybe their marriage just needed the right balance of ingredients. The next morning, Àyo and Ifé visited Elder OJo again. He was sitting under a mango tree, sharpening a small hoe. "Today, I will tell you a story," Elder OJo said. "Listen carefully." He cleared his throat and began. "Once, there were two farmers. The first farmer planted his crops and watered them every day, but he never removed the weeds. The second farmer cleared the weeds but forgot to water his crops. At the end of the season, neither had a good harvest." Àyo and Ifé listened closely. Elder OJo continued, "The first farmer showed care but ignored the things that could choke his crops. The second farmer worked hard to remove problems but forgot to nurture what was important. Both made mistakes." Ifé nodded. "So, what should they have done?" "The wise farmer does both," Elder OJo said. "He waters his crops with care but also removes the weeds before they take over." Àyo frowned. "What does this have to do with marriage?" Elder OJo smiled. "In marriage, love is like the water, it keeps things alive. But small problems, if ignored, are like weeds. If you don't remove them, they will grow and choke your happiness." Àyo and Ifé exchanged a look. They both remember times when small issues had grown into big fights simply because they ignored them. "If you take care of your love but don't solve your problems, your marriage will suffer," Elder OJo continued. "And if you focus only on problems but forget to show love, your marriage will feel dry and empty." Àyo sighed. "So, we must do both, nurture love and fix problems." "Exactly," Elder OJo said. "A good marriage, like a good farm, requires balance." As they left, Àyo and Ifé felt wiser. They promised themselves to always water their love but never ignore the weeds. A few days later, Elder OJo invited Àyo and Ifé to his compound again. This time, he was sitting next to two clay pots, one whole and the other with a crack running down its side. "My children," Elder OJo began, pointing at the cracked pot, "tell me, what do you see?" "It's broken," Àyo said. "Yes, it cannot hold water properly," Ifé added. Elder OJo smiled and poured water into both pots. The whole pot held its water, while the cracked pot slowly leaked. This cracked pot reminds me of many marriages, Elder OJo said. At first, they look strong, but small cracks begin to appear, cracks of anger, pride, and misunderstanding. If not fixed, love slowly leaks out, just like the water in this pot. Àyo and Ifé watched as the water dripped onto the ground. How can the pot be fixed? Ifé asked. Elder OJo picked up a lump of clay. With patience and effort, the cracks can be sealed. In the same way, a marriage can be repaired with forgiveness, kindness, and understanding. Àyo sighed. But sometimes, the cracks feel too big. Elder OJo nodded. That is when you must work together. If one person tries to patch the pot alone, it may break further. But if both hands work carefully, the pot can be whole again. Ifé reached for Àyo's hand. So, if we both try, we can fix anything. Elder OJo smiled. Yes, my children. A broken pot is only useless if no one cares to fix it. As Àyo and Ifé walked home, they held hands tightly. They knew their marriage wasn't perfect, but now, they had the tools to repair it, together. One evening, Elder OJo called Àyo and Ifé to meet him at the village square. When they arrived, they saw two goats tied together with a short rope. A bundle of fresh grass was placed on opposite sides of them. The goats both pulled in different directions, each trying to reach the grass on their own side. But because they were tied together, neither could reach their food. They struggled and pulled, but the rope kept them stuck in place. Elder OJo turned to Àyo and Ifé. What do you see? They are both too stubborn, Ifé said. They don't realize they are stopping each other, Àyo added. Elder OJo nodded. Now, watch closely. After some time, the goats finally stopped pulling. They seemed to understand their problem. Instead of fighting, they walked together to one side and ate the grass there. Then, they moved to the other side and shared that grass too. Àyo and Ifé watched in silence. Elder OJo smiled. Marriage is like these goats. If both of you pull in opposite directions, neither of you will be happy. But if you learn to move together, you will both get what you need. Àyo rubbed the back of his neck. I never thought of it like that. Most couples don't, Elder OJo said. They spend so much time pulling against each other that they don't see the simple solution, cooperation. Ifé sighed. We have been like these goats, haven't we? Àyo smiled a little. Yes, but at least now we know how to fix it. Elder OJo patted their shoulders. When you stop fighting and start working together, you will always find a way forward. As Àyo and Ifé walked home, they promised to stop pulling against each other and start walking side by side. Àyo and Ifé arrived at Elder OJo's hut the next day, eager to hear what he had to teach them. This time, they found him sitting by a small fire with a cooking pot resting on 3 stones. Do you see these stones? Elder OJo asked, pointing at them. Yes, Ifé replied. They hold up the pot. Elder OJo nodded. Now, watch. He reached down and removed one of the stones. The pot wobbled dangerously, nearly tipping over. What do you think will happen if I remove another stone? He asked. The pot will fall, Àyo said quickly. Elder OJo smiled. That is how marriage works, my children. A strong marriage, like this pot, rests on 3 important things. Do you know what they are? Àyo and Ifé shook their heads. The first stone is love, Elder OJo explained. Without love, marriage becomes empty. The second stone is respect. If a couple does not respect each other, they will always have conflict. The third stone is commitment. If you are not committed to each other, small problems will break your marriage apart. Àyo and Ifé listened carefully. If you remove even one of these stones, the marriage becomes weak, Elder OJo continued. And if two are missing, it will surely fall. Ifé nodded. So, we must protect all three. Yes, Elder OJo said. Love, respect, and commitment must always be present. If you keep this strong, your marriage will never fall. As Àyo and Ifé walked home, they felt a deep sense of understanding. From that day on, they promised to always keep their 3 stones in place. One afternoon, Elder OJo took Àyo and Ifé to the river. They stood on the bank, watching the water flow smoothly around rocks and fallen branches. Tell me, Elder OJo said, why does the river keep flowing even when there are obstacles in its path? It finds another way, Ifé answered. It doesn't stop, Àyo added. Elder OJo nodded. A strong marriage is like this river. You will face problems, money troubles, misunderstandings, even disappointments. But if your love is strong, you will not stop. You will find a way around the problem and keep moving forward. Àyo and Ifé watched the river for a moment. The water never fought the rocks. It simply moved around them. Elder OJo picked up a dry leaf and dropped it into the river. It floated on the surface, carried by the current. Some people in marriage are like this leaf, he said. They let the current decide where they go. They don't put in effort. They don't fight for their love. They simply drift. Then, Elder OJo picked up a small fish from a clay pot and placed it in the water. It swam strongly, pushing against the current but never stopping. Marriage needs effort, Elder OJo said. Be like the fish. Even when life is hard, keep moving, keep fighting for each other. Àyo took Ifé's hand. No more drifting. No more fighting against each other. From now on, we move forward, together. Elder OJo smiled. That is the secret to a lasting marriage. Be the river, not the leaf. As they walked home, Àyo and Ifé felt different. They knew marriage would have challenges, but now, they had the wisdom to face them. Àyo and Ifé sat with Elder OJo one last time. Over the past weeks, they had learned so much from him. Their marriage felt stronger, and they understood each other better. Elder, we are grateful, Ifé said. But before we leave, tell us, what is the most important lesson about marriage? Elder OJo smiled. Come with me. He led them to a large tree in the village square. Its branches stretched wide, and its roots ran deep into the ground. This tree has stood here for many years, Elder OJo said. Storms have tried to break it, but it still stands. Do you know why? Àyo touched the rough bark. Because its roots are strong. Yes, Elder OJo said. A marriage must be like this tree. Strong roots, deep foundation. But do you know what those roots are? Ifé thought for a moment. Love. Love is important, but love alone is not enough, Elder OJo said. The roots of a strong marriage are understanding, patience, forgiveness, and friendship. Àyo and Ifé listened carefully. Understanding helps you see things from each other's side, Elder OJo continued. Patience helps you stay calm when things are difficult. Forgiveness allows you to heal after mistakes. And friendship, my children, friendship is what makes marriage joyful. Without friendship, marriage feels like a burden. Àyo smiled at Ifé. You are my best friend. Ifé squeezed his hand. And you are mine. Elder OJo chuckled. Then your marriage will stand tall, like this tree. Storms will come, but you will not fall. He placed a hand on Àyo's shoulder. But remember this, my son, a tree does not grow strong overnight. It takes years of care. In the same way, a strong marriage is built every single day. Never stop watering it with kindness, respect, and laughter. Then he turned to Ifé. And my daughter, never compare your marriage to another. Every tree grows differently. Focus on your own, and it will flourish. Àyo and Ifé bowed their heads in respect. "Thank you, Elder," they said together. As they walked home, they felt at peace. They knew that, no matter what challenges came, their love had strong roots. And with those roots, they would stand the test of time, together. That was the end of the story. Thank you for watching. And I hope you enjoyed the story. Please do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more. Let me know what you have learned in the comments section. See you in the next video.